True Da's ambitions were marked by a combination of aggression and cunning diplomacy. Unlike the Qin's straightforward military campaigns, True Da understood that a more nuanced approach could be effective in dealing with Âu Lạc. He pursued both direct military confrontation and indirect political maneuvers. By marrying his son, Trong Tui, to Mai Chao, the daughter of Ndung Vong, True Da sought to establish a familial alliance that he could later exploit for his own gain. This move was a masterstroke of strategic diplomacy, allowing him to create divisions within Âu Lạc leadership. True Da's legacy. True Da's ambitions led to a series of conflicts that ultimately resulted in the fall of Âu Lạc. By gaining access to critical information through Trong Tui, True Da successfully undermined Âu Lạc defenses, leading to the kingdom's eventual annexation into Nanyue. The fall of Âu Lạc not only marked the end of Ndung Vong's reign but also demonstrated True Da's effectiveness in expanding his kingdom through a blend of military might, strategic alliances, and political subterfuge. Despite being an adversary to Âu Lạc, True Da remains a complex figure in Vietnamese history. While his actions led to the subjugation of Âu Lạc, he also laid the foundations for cultural exchanges between the southern regions of China and northern Vietnam. His ambitions, while driven by a desire for power, also resulted in a period of relative stability and cultural integration in the region, which shaped the historical trajectory of both Vietnam and southern China. Conclusion: True Da's rise to power and his ambitions for expansion were pivotal in shaping the fate of Âu Lạc. His complex strategy, balancing aggression with diplomatic cunning, proved effective in subjugating the kingdom of Ndung Vong. Through his ambitious endeavors, True Da not only expanded his influence but also left an indelible mark on the history of the region. His legacy is a testament to the complex interplay of power, politics, and ambition in the ancient world, and his role in the history of Âu Lạc is a reminder of the constant struggle for sovereignty faced by smaller states in the shadow of rising empires. The initial confrontations between Âu Lạc and Nanyue. The initial confrontations between Âu Lạc, led by Ndung Vong, and Nanyue, under the leadership of True Da, were marked by a series of tensions, skirmishes, and strategic power plays that would shape the eventual outcome of their rivalry. These confrontations were not only military engagements, but also battles of wits and strategy, as both leaders sought to protect and expand their territories amidst shifting regional power dynamics. The rising threat from Nanyue. After the establishment of the Nanyue kingdom in 204 BCE, True Da quickly began expanding his influence, eyeing the fertile lands and strategic location of Âu Lạc. For Ndung Vong, the rising threat was clear: Nanyue's ambition to expand southward would inevitably bring them into conflict. The Red River Delta, with its rich resources and thriving communities, was highly coveted by True Da, who understood the importance of controlling such a vital area for the consolidation of his power. The initial confrontations between the two kingdoms began as a series of border skirmishes. True Da, with his background as a former Qin general, was well versed in the tactics of invasion and territorial control. He launched probing attacks on the border areas of Âu Lạc, testing the defenses and gauging the strength of Ndung Vong's forces. These early confrontations were aimed at destabilizing Âu Lạc, creating a climate of uncertainty, and attempting to weaken the kingdom's resolve. Âu Lạc defensive strategies. In response to these provocations, Ndung Vong demonstrated resilience and strategic ingenuity. One of the most significant actions taken by Ndung Vong during this period was the fortification of the Ko Loa citadel. The spiral structure of Ko Loa, with its multiple layers of defense, was designed to resist the kind of military tactics that True Da was likely to employ. Ndung Vong's understanding of the importance of defense against a more powerful and resourceful enemy led him to focus on fortifying key positions and ensuring the kingdom could withstand prolonged siege tactics. The initial confrontations were characterized by a combination of defensive maneuvers and cautious offensives. Ndung Vong employed a strategy of protecting key strongholds while avoiding direct engagement in open battle, which would favor Nanyue's larger and better equipped forces. Instead, Âu Lạc relied on guerrilla tactics, using the local terrain to their advantage to harass and slow down Nanyue's advances. The dense forests and the river systems of the Red River Delta provided ideal cover for these hit-and-run tactics, allowing the defenders to inflict damage while avoiding full-scale confrontations. Diplomatic maneuvers. While military confrontations were ongoing, Trudeau also sought to exploit other means to weaken Âu Lạc. He recognized that outright conquest could be costly and time-consuming, and he looked for opportunities to undermine Ndung Vong from within. During this period, Trudeau initiated a series of diplomatic gestures toward Âu Lạc, proposing alliances and peace treaties, often with underlying intentions of creating divisions and gaining influence. A key element of Trudeau's strategy was the marriage alliance between his son, Trong Thuy, and Ndung Vong's daughter, My Chau. This alliance was presented as a gesture of goodwill, intended to foster peace and unity between the two kingdoms. However, it was, in reality, a calculated move to embed Nanyua's influence within the heart of Âu Lạc. By securing this marriage, Trudeau gained a direct line into the royal court of Âu Lạc, which he would later use to exploit its vulnerabilities. The escalation of conflict. Despite the initial diplomatic efforts, the tensions between the two kingdoms continued to escalate. Trudeau's probing attacks became more frequent and aggressive, putting increasing pressure on Âu Lạc defenses. The marriage between Trong Thuy and My Chau, while initially appearing to bring peace, soon revealed its true purpose. Trong Thuy, acting as a spy within the citadel, gathered intelligence about the kingdom's military capabilities and the defenses of Koh Loa, including the secret of the magic crossbow, Nothan, which was crucial to Âu Lạc military strength. The information provided by Trong Thuy enabled Trudeau to launch a more targeted and effective campaign against Âu Lạc. The subsequent confrontation saw Nanyua forces exploiting the weaknesses in Âu Lạc defenses, ultimately leading to the kingdom's downfall. The betrayal from within, facilitated by the diplomatic maneuver of marriage, was a turning point in the conflict, marking the beginning of the end for Ndung Vong's reign. Conclusion. The initial confrontations between Âu Lạc and Nanyua were a blend of military engagements, strategic fortifications, and cunning diplomacy. Ndung Vong's efforts to defend his kingdom against the growing power of Nanyua demonstrated his resilience and determination. However, Trudeau's ambitions, coupled with his strategic use of both military force and diplomatic manipulation, ultimately gave him the upper hand. The fall of Âu Lạc was not solely a result of military defeat but also of the complex interplay of trust, betrayal, and the cunning ambitions of Trudeau, which forever changed the course of Vietnamese history. The diplomacy between Ndung Vong and Trudeau, including the marriage of My Chau and Trong Thuy, the story of Ndung Vong and Trudeau, is a profound illustration of diplomacy intertwined with cunning strategies, ultimately leading to one of the most tragic downfalls in Vietnamese history. Central to this diplomacy was the marriage between My Chau, the beloved daughter of Ndung Vong, and Trong Thuy, the son of Trudeau. This marriage was intended to be a bridge between two rival kingdoms, symbolizing peace and unity. However, it would later prove to be a deceptive maneuver that sealed the fate of Âu Lạc. Trudeau's proposal for peace. Trudeau, the ruler of Nanyua, was well aware of the formidable defenses of Âu Lạc, particularly the Koh Loa citadel, which was an architectural marvel and military fortress. After a series of initial confrontations that yielded inconclusive results, Trudeau decided to take a different approach, one that emphasized diplomacy over direct military conquest. Trudeau proposed a peace agreement with Ndung Vong, portraying himself as a leader interested in harmony and regional stability. As a gesture of goodwill, he suggested a marriage alliance between his son, Trong Thuy, and Ndung Vong's daughter, My Chau. The proposal was appealing, as it seemed to offer a resolution to the hostilities, a means to secure lasting peace between the two kingdoms, and an opportunity for cultural and political ties. Ndung Vong, although cautious, saw the potential for peace and stability in the region through this marriage alliance. The prospect of ending the ongoing threat from Nanyua and securing a peaceful future for his people led him to accept the proposal. The marriage was celebrated with grand ceremonies, symbolizing the beginning of what was hoped to be a new era of friendship and cooperation between Âu Lạc and Nanyua. The marriage of My Chao and Trong Tui, My Chao, the princess of Âu Lạc, and Trong Tui, the prince of Nanue, were wed amidst much hope and optimism. For My Chao, the marriage was an opportunity to foster love and bring peace to her homeland. She was devoted to her husband and trusted him with complete sincerity. However, unbeknownst to her, Trong Tui had ulterior motives from the very beginning. Trong Tui, under the guidance of his father, Tru Da, was instructed to infiltrate the royal household of Âu Lạc and gather intelligence that would help Nanue conquer the kingdom. He was particularly interested in the secrets of Âu Lac's defenses, especially the magic crossbow, Know Then, which was said to be a powerful weapon that could turn the tide of battle in favor of Âu Lạc. Trong Tui used his position as My Chao's husband to gain her trust and learn about the kingdom's defenses. My Chao, in her innocence and love for her husband, unwittingly revealed the secrets of the magic crossbow to Trong Tui. She believed that their marriage was founded on love and trust, unaware of the treachery that lay beneath the surface. Trong Tui, torn between his genuine affection for My Chao and his loyalty to his father, chose to fulfill his father's orders. He secretly studied the workings of the crossbow and reported back to Tru Da, giving Nanue the crucial information it needed to defeat Âu Lạc. The betrayal and the fall of Âu Lạc. With the knowledge gained from Trong Tui, Tru Da launched a renewed campaign against Âu Lạc. This time, armed with the secrets of the magic crossbow, Nanue was able to overpower the defenses of Koh Loa. The betrayal from within had weakened Âu Lạc military strength, and the kingdom was unable to withstand the renewed assault. And Dung Vong, realizing the extent of the betrayal and the impending doom of his kingdom, fled with My Chao to escape the advancing Nanue forces. In a tragic turn of events, Dung Vong came to understand that it was My Chao's inadvertent betrayal that had led to the fall of Âu Lạc. Overcome with grief and realizing the consequences of her naivety, My Chao was executed by her father at a site that has since become legendary in Vietnamese history. According to folklore, before her death, she prayed that her body be transformed into pearls to cleanse her innocence. Meanwhile, Trong Tui, upon finding My Chao dead, was consumed by sorrow and regret, ultimately drowning himself in a well at Koh Loa. The legacy of the marriage diplomacy. The marriage of My Chao and Trong Tui is remembered as one of the most poignant stories in Vietnamese history, a tale of love, betrayal, and the tragic consequences of misplaced trust. The diplomatic maneuver that initially promised peace and unity instead brought about the downfall of Âu Lạc. And Dung Vong's decision to accept Tru Da's proposal for peace, while understandable, ultimately led to the end of his reign and the annexation of Âu Lạc into the expanding Nanue kingdom. This episode highlights the complexity of diplomacy during ancient times, where alliances were often fragile and could be easily manipulated for personal or political gain. The tragedy of My Chao and Trong Tui serves as a reminder of the perils of trusting too easily in diplomacy when underlying ambitions remain unchecked. The story of My Chao and Trong Tui has since become an enduring part of Vietnamese cultural heritage, symbolizing the tragic cost of naivety and the intricate balance between love and loyalty. It is a powerful narrative that underscores the vulnerabilities of a kingdom when external threats are combined with internal betrayal, forever shaping the historical memory of Âu Lạc and its legacy. The betrayal of My Chao and the loss of the magic crossbow. The story of Âu Lạc downfall is closely tied to one of the most tragic betrayals in Vietnamese history, the betrayal of My Chao and the loss of the powerful magic crossbow. This crossbow, gifted by the Golden Turtle, was a symbol of the kingdom's strength, and its loss marked the beginning of Âu Lạc tragic end. The magic crossbow, a symbol of protection, the magic crossbow, also known as Know Then, was an essential part of Âu Lạc defenses. According to legend, it was crafted with the help of a divine golden turtle, who provided Dung Vong with a magical claw to make a trigger for the crossbow. This weapon had the power to shoot multiple arrows at once, and its strength was thought to be capable of repelling any invading force. The magic crossbow became a symbol of protection and invincibility, giving Dung Vong confidence that his kingdom was secure against external threats. The crossbow was a crucial element of Âu Lạc defensive strategy, particularly in the face of threats from the neighboring Nanue kingdom, ruled by Tru Da. Its reputation alone deterred enemies, instilling fear of Dung Vong's military capabilities. The marriage alliance and Trong Tui's hidden agenda. when Truda proposed a marriage alliance between his son, Trong Tui, and My Chao, and Dung Vong saw it as an opportunity to bring about peace. However, the marriage was not founded on mutual respect or goodwill. It was a calculated move by Truda to weaken Âu Lạc from within. Trong Tui, under his father's orders, used his new position in the royal household to gather information on Âu Lạc military secrets, particularly the workings of the magic crossbow. My Chao, innocent and trusting, loved her husband deeply and believed in the sincerity of their marriage. She had no reason to doubt Trong Tui's loyalty and was unaware of his hidden agenda. Using her affection for him, Trong Tui persuaded My Chao to reveal the secret of the magic crossbow. She showed him the crossbow and explained how it worked, believing that there was no harm in sharing such knowledge with her husband. Trong Tui, while conflicted between his love for My Chao and his duty to his father, ultimately chose loyalty to Nanyue. He secretly made a copy of the crossbow and reported back to Truda, providing him with the information he needed to neutralize Âu Lạc most formidable weapon. With this knowledge, Truda knew that Âu Lạc defenses could be breached, and he began preparations for a renewed invasion, the invasion and the loss of Âu Lạc. Armed with the secret of the magic crossbow, Truda launched a full-scale invasion of Âu Lạc. When the Nanyue forces attacked, and Dung Vong confidently ordered the use of the crossbow, believing in its invincibility. However, to his shock, the crossbow failed to protect the kingdom. The copied crossbow and the Nanyue's preparedness rendered Âu Lạc vulnerable, as the enemy forces advanced, and Dung Vong realized the extent of the betrayal. He fled from the capital with My Chao, seeking refuge while still trying to understand how his kingdom's greatest defense had been compromised. It was during this desperate escape that Dung Vong began to suspect the involvement of someone close to him. The revelation and the tragic end, while fleeing, and Dung Vong was accompanied by My Chao, who remained loyal to her father, unaware of the consequences of her actions. According to legend, during their flight, the golden turtle reappeared and revealed to Dung Vong the truth about My Chao's betrayal, that she had inadvertently given away the secret of the magic crossbow to Trong Tui. Overcome by the weight of this revelation and the knowledge that his daughter had been deceived and used, and Dung Vong faced an impossible decision. In his grief and anger, and believing there was no way to save his kingdom while carrying the burden of betrayal, and Dung Vong took My Chao's life. The story says that My Chao, before her death, begged for forgiveness, not out of malice, but out of ignorance and misplaced love. She prayed that her body be transformed into pearls to symbolize her purity and innocence, despite her fatal mistake. The sea, touched by her innocence, turned her blood into pearls, which later became symbols of the deep sorrow and tragedy of Âu Lạc, the aftermath, and Trong Tui's sorrow. Upon learning of My Chao's death, Trong Tui was consumed by grief. Despite his role in the betrayal, he genuinely loved My Chao, and the realization of what his actions had led to broke him. According to legend, Trong Tui returned to Koh Loa and, overwhelmed by his loss, drowned himself in the well where he and My Chao had often met. The well became a symbol of tragic love, and it is said that the water from the well, when used to wash My Chao's pearls, made them shine more brilliantly, an enduring reminder of the love that existed despite the betrayal. Legacy of the betrayal of My Chao and the loss of the magic crossbow are remembered as pivotal moments that led to the fall of Âu Lạc. This tragic story serves as a powerful reminder of the vulnerability that comes with trust, especially when exploited for deceitful purposes. The tale of My Chao and Trong Tui continues to resonate in Vietnamese culture as a symbol of the tragic consequences of love intertwined with political ambition and betrayal. The fall of Âu Lạc marked the end of Dung Vong's reign and the beginning of Nanyue's control over the region. The loss of the magic crossbow, a symbol of Âu Lạc strength, represents how internal betrayal can undermine even the most formidable of defenses. The story of My Chao's innocence, Trong Tui's regret, and Dung Vong's grief remains a profound and poignant chapter in Vietnamese history, encapsulating themes of loyalty, love, betrayal, and the tragic cost of misplaced trust. The final invasion by Nanyue and the fall of Koh Loa Citadel, The final invasion of Âu Lạc by the forces of Nanue was an event that sealed the fate of Nduong Vong's kingdom and marked the end of an important chapter in Vietnamese history. This tragic culmination was not only a consequence of external threats but also internal vulnerabilities, largely due to betrayal and the weakening of Âu Lạc most crucial defense, the renewed ambition of True Da. After the unsuccessful initial confrontations with Âu Lạc, True Da, the ambitious ruler of Nanue, recognized the formidable defenses of Nduong Vong's kingdom, particularly the magic crossbow that had repelled his attacks. To circumvent military confrontation, True Da employed a different tactic. He used diplomacy, resulting in the marriage between his son, Trong Thuy, and Nduong Vong's daughter, My Chao. The marriage, however, was merely a guise, aimed at creating a pathway for espionage and weakening the defenses of Âu Lạc from within. Once Trong Thuy gained knowledge of the magic crossbow, he secretly reported its secrets back to his father. Armed with this crucial information, True Da felt confident that the time was ripe for a renewed and decisive attack on Âu Lạc, the start of the final invasion. With the information obtained from Trong Thuy and the strategic advantage it provided, True Da launched a full-scale invasion against Âu Lạc. This time, the Nanue forces were well prepared, and they were confident that they could counteract the power of Nduong Vong's once mighty crossbow. In contrast, Nduong Vong, unaware of the betrayal, continued to trust in the power of his magic crossbow to defend his kingdom. He believed that, as before, his army would be able to repel the invaders without much difficulty. However, the trust placed in the weapon turned out to be misplaced due to Trong Thuy's treachery. The collapse of Âu Lạc defenses, as the Nanue forces advanced, Nduong Vong ordered his army to use the magic crossbow. To his horror, the crossbow failed, and its supposed invincibility was rendered useless against the Nanue attackers. The loss of this crucial military advantage left Âu Lạc vulnerable and disorganized. Nanue troops, driven by both the element of surprise and the superior tactics orchestrated by True Da, broke through the defenses of Âu Lạc with relative ease. The initial lines of defense fell, and the once impenetrable walls of Ko Loa began to crumble under the relentless assault. Panic swept through the capital as soldiers and citizens alike struggled to protect their homes and defend the citadel. The loss of the magic crossbow created confusion and lowered morale among the defenders, further weakening their ability to resist the invasion. Nduong Vong, realizing the severity of the situation, understood that defeat was imminent. The fall of Ko Loa Citadel, the mighty Ko Loa Citadel, once a symbol of the strength and ingenuity of Âu Lạc, fell to the invading forces of Nanue. The defensive walls, though formidable, could not withstand the onslaught when the magic crossbow was no longer able to fulfill its role as the kingdom's greatest safeguard. The city's once prosperous streets turned into scenes of chaos and despair as Nanue soldiers overran Ko Loa. Amidst the chaos, Nduong Vong fled the citadel, accompanied by his daughter, My Chao. They sought to escape the advancing forces, but the weight of betrayal and the realization that the fall of Âu Lạc had been due to an internal breach weighed heavily on Nduong Vong's mind. As they made their way south, Nduong Vong was eventually confronted with the truth of My Chao's unintended betrayal, leading to the tragic end of her life, a sacrifice that symbolized the king's deep grief and the final loss of his kingdom. The legacy of Ko Loa's fall. The fall of Ko Loa marked the end of Nduong Vong's reign and the dissolution of Âu Lạc into Nanue's expanding territory. This event was a turning point in Vietnamese history, highlighting the fragility of power when external threats combine with internal weakness. The fall of Ko Loa also serves as a profound lesson in the perils of misplaced trust and the vulnerability that comes when the loyalty of those closest is compromised. Ko Loa, with its intricate defenses and strategic significance, had been the pride of Âu Lạc. However, the fall of the citadel not only marked a military defeat but also the end of an era of unity and independence. Despite its fall, the legacy of Ko Loa and Nduong Vong lived on. The story of the magic crossbow, the betrayal of My Chao, and the tragic downfall of Âu Lạc has become an enduring part of Vietnamese cultural memory. It is remembered as a story of resilience, betrayal, love, and the complex interplay of human emotions that can lead to both the rise and the fall of kingdoms. the ruins of Ko Loa Citadel remain today as a testament to the ingenuity of Âu Lạc people and as a symbol of the enduring spirit of resilience that defines Vietnamese history. The rise and fall of Âu Lạc under Ndung Vong is a story that continues to resonate, reminding future generations of both the glory of unity and the devastating consequences of betrayal. The tragic death of Ndung Vong and My Chau's role, the fall of Âu Lạc was a devastating chapter in Vietnamese history, culminating in the tragic deaths of Ndung Vong and his daughter, My Chau. This final act not only marked the end of Âu Lạc, but also became a powerful symbol of loyalty, betrayal, and sacrifice. My Chau's role and betrayal. My Chau, daughter of Ndung Vong, played a crucial yet tragic role in the downfall of Âu Lạc. Her love for Trong Thuy, the son of Tru De, proved to be the gateway through which non-US forces could successfully infiltrate and conquer Âu Lạc. Trong Thuy, who married My Chau under the guise of a diplomatic union, exploited her trust and innocence to learn the secrets of the kingdom's most powerful weapon, the magic crossbow. Know then. My Chau, in her unwavering devotion, unknowingly revealed the crossbow's workings to Trong Thuy, leading to the kingdom's vulnerability. When the Nanua forces launched their decisive attack, the crossbow, the symbol of Âu Lac's invincibility, failed. It was only after their desperate escape from the advancing enemy that Ndung Vong discovered the betrayal that led to their defeat. The realization struck the king that My Chau, with her blind love and trust in Trong Thuy, had unintentionally compromised the safety of their people. The flight from Ko Loa, as non-US forces breached the walls of Ko Loa Citadel, Ndung Vong and My Chau were forced to flee southward. The journey was filled with desperation and heartbreak, as the king tried to escape the advancing forces and find refuge. However, as they traveled, Ndung Vong began to piece together the truth about the loss of the crossbow and the betrayal that led to their current situation. It was during this escape that My Chau's role in the loss became evident. Legend tells that she scattered goose feathers along their path in the hope that Trong Thuy would follow and find her. She believed that her husband, despite the conflict, would protect her. This act, however, only further sealed their fate, allowing the pursuing forces to track them down. The heart-wrenching decision of Ndung Vong. Once Ndung Vong fully realized the truth, that My Chau had been the unwitting cause of their downfall, he was overcome with grief and fury. Standing at the edge of the sea, Ndung Vong faced an agonizing decision. The weight of his kingdom's fall, the betrayal of his people, and the loss of everything he had fought for rested heavily on his shoulders. In a moment of profound tragedy, Ndung Vong, guided by his sense of duty to his fallen kingdom and people, made the heart-wrenching decision to execute his beloved daughter. He believed that My Chau's betrayal, however unintentional, required the ultimate sacrifice to atone for the destruction of Âu Lạc. With tears in his eyes, he drew his sword and ended her life, a symbolic act meant to restore honor to his kingdom, even in its last moments. After My Chau's death, Ndung Vong, overwhelmed with grief and the loss of all hope, turned to the sea. According to legend, he called upon the golden turtle, who had once aided him in constructing Ko Loa and creating the magic crossbow. In response, the golden turtle appeared and took Ndung Vong into the depths of the sea, sparing him from capture and symbolically ending the lineage of Âu Lac's rulers. The legacy of My Chau and Ndung Vong's death. The deaths of Ndung Vong and My Chau became a poignant and tragic symbol in Vietnamese culture. Ndung Vong is remembered as a king who fought valiantly to protect his kingdom, but ultimately fell due to a combination of internal weakness and external aggression.